Hi there, welcome. I'm Jess Arce. I am the founder, the CEO, and the director of 3D Learning Experts. I'm so excited that you've decided to invest the next hour in learning more about how our program will help your child successfully learn how to read, write, spell, and do math. We pride ourselves on being different, and you're going to learn how. So over the next hour, I will talk about how we began 3D Learning Experts, what dyslexia, dysgraphia, and dyscalculia are, what Orton-Gillingham-based instruction is, and what multisensory instruction is, our tutoring services, and you will get an opportunity to meet our tutors, and they will tell you a little bit more about each of our programs that we offer. Then we'll talk about the onboarding process and student evaluations and how we track our students' progress and the tools and platforms that help us to successfully teach our students and keep them engaged. And finally, you will get to hear from some of our current and past clients about how they love working with our company. So let's get started. Okay. Our journey began in 2012. I didn't even plan on starting a business tutoring. I do have a background of being an entrepreneur and having my own businesses. I call that my dyslexic superpower because I myself am dyslexic. However, in 2012, I didn't know that my reading disability was dyslexia. It wasn't until I started tutoring my own child that I discovered that that is what my reading challenges stemmed from. So we lived in Texas, and two of my 4 kids were diagnosed with dyslexia, and we were moving back west. And my youngest son's dyslexia teacher told me I needed to learn how to teach him in a way he was going to successfully learn. And I was planning on homeschooling. So if I was going to teach him anyway, it makes sense to teach him the way he would learn best. And that is how this journey began. Was I just wanted to help my youngest son. My daughter had graduated from the tutoring program at her school and thought she was all done dealing with any kind of help related to her dyslexia. Lo and behold, as I started tutoring my son, I discovered that the program that I was using was so much better than what my kids had experienced in their group setting at school that I had my daughter that year. It was her freshman year of high school. I had her learn or work with me as well. So I started out just helping my kids, and I went to a homeschool class with my kids. I took them to a homeschool class. And when kids go to the classes, parents typically will just hang out in the waiting area for their kids to be done. And I was talking to this mom, and she told me how her 5th grader could not read. And as she was describing what her daughter was going through, I said, that sounds like dyslexia. I could tutor your daughter for you if you'd like. And that is literally how I started my tutoring business. I tutored her daughter, and then she told a friend, and that friend's daughter was not as severe as that child, but she wanted to be an actress and really wanted to fine-tune her reading and had moderate dyslexia. And from there, I just got more and more students. And after several years, I realized that I wanted to be able to help more than just the maybe 8 or 10 kids per year that I could work with. So I started training tutors to do the programs that I was currently using. And so that's when I started hiring tutors. That was in 2015. And prior to that, I had a student who I was working with, and she was 18 years old. And when she came to me, she was on a 3rd grade reading level, and she could not do any math at all. And so I said to her, Mom, did you realize that she can't add? And Mom's like, yeah. And I was like, well, maybe we should address that. And so that is when we started incorporating math into our program, because I wanted to help this 18-year-old young woman learn how to be able to do math. And when we got done working together after 2 years of tutoring, she was able to get a job at Kmart as a cashier. So this is a woman who at 18 could not add 6 plus 4. And within 2 years was leaving to have a job working as a cashier. And a few years later, I found out that she was applying for an assistant manager job at Ralph's, a grocery store. So it just warms my heart to know that I have helped people who went from barely being able to read, not being able to do math, to being able to successfully and confidently gain employment as an assistant manager. So that is our humble beginnings. When we first started out, we were Lexia learners, and we had to, a year ago, change the name of the company because a company you may have heard of, they're in pretty much all the schools now. They provide video literacy classes for kids, and they are called Lexia Learning. And so they were trademarking the name Lexia Learning, and my company name was so close that I needed to change the name of our company because of them trademarking it. So today we are trademarking our company as 3D Learning Experts, so we never have to change our name again. Pre-pandemic, we provided 80% of our tutoring in person, and about 20% of our students were online students. So we have been providing online tutoring services almost since the company began. And that's really important to know because a lot of companies have popped up since COVID who may not have the background that we have. We have over 10 years experience providing both in-person and now strictly online tutoring. And we have developed a program that works really well for our students who, many of them have ADD, ADHD. We actually have a good number of students who are also on the autism spectrum. And we find that they work very successfully at home online because they are in the comfort of their home. They're not being distracted by other students in the next room and hearing noises and wondering what those noises are. So we really have found great success with our students. And that being said, also, it's great for parents because you don't have to spend 30 minutes or an hour driving to tutoring for your child. And if your child is struggling with reading and spelling and writing and math, and they are a bright individual and you just don't understand why they are struggling, sending them to a traditional tutoring program is not going to be the answer for them. I have met so many families who have committed to tutoring with places like Sylvan Learning Center and Kumon. And those programs are great, but they are not great for our students who need to be taught differently. And guess what? We only work with students who need to be taught differently. We don't help students who are your traditional learners who just need a little extra push to get them to the next step. Okay, our program is completely different, and we'll talk more about how it's different in a little bit. But I just wanted to share that with you. So now, post-pandemic, we are 3D learning experts and our tutoring services are 100% online. So 3D learning experts mission, we have a two-part mission. First, it is to empower students with dyslexia, dysgraphia, and dyscalculia, and they don't need to be diagnosed, okay? We can easily determine if they have dyslexia, dysgraphia, dyscalculia, auditory processing delay, those types of things without having an official diagnosis. So our mission is to teach them academic skills and foster a strong self-esteem and prepare them for independence, like the young lady I was telling you about earlier, who we prepared to become an assistant manager. Our second mission is to increase awareness of dyslexia, dysgraphia, dyscalculia throughout the United States, because unfortunately, so many people think that dyslexia is reversing letters. And that is not what dyslexia is. And what happens, what I've found lots of times is a lot of times parents don't think their child has dyslexia because their understanding of what dyslexia is reversals. And perhaps their child does not reverse, because most of our students do not reverse letters and numbers and words. And so they don't get the help that they need because their parents don't know that they are dyslexic. So that is why it is so important to me to educate America about what dyslexia is, so that your child doesn't miss the opportunity to get the help that they deserve. So let's jump in and talk about what dyslexia is. Dyslexia is a brain-based learning challenge. And very often our students are of average or above average intellect. Some examples are Albert Einstein and Henry Ford and Winston Churchill. These men might have been misunderstood as children. However, as adults, they have been set up on pedestals because of their superior intellect. So that is one of the key differences with dyslexia and perhaps a child who is of lower cognitive intellect who can't read. Our students typically are of average or above average intelligence. And sometimes they are of really high intelligence, which is called 2E. And they just don't understand why that they can't read when their classmate, who might be as dumb as a rock, is able to learn how to read. And so that is one of the key indicators, is the discrepancy between their intellect and their reading abilities. So dyslexia is difficulty with words. Dys means not or difficulty, and lexia is words. And that's literally what dyslexia is. It is a difficulty with reading words, a difficulty with spelling words, a difficulty with communicating words, as I struggle to communicate my words right there. And so those are the academic challenges that people with dyslexia have. Very often people with dyslexia are affected on a personal level as well. And that's more of a societal cause. But because our society has placed such a high expectation, or they correlate reading ability with intellect, that people with dyslexia will often have self-esteem issues, confidence issues, and it just really will affect so many parts of their lives because of that. I like to give an example of in the past, only a very small percent of populations could read. So if you look back in biblical times, it was just the priests or the rabbis who were able to read the Torah or the Bible. It was not the general population. Back in the ancient times, people learned new skills by being an apprentice or an indentured servant, and they didn't need to read in order to learn these skills. They were just taught hands-on, which was fantastic for a dyslexic person, because dyslexic people are very often hands-on learners. So someone like Leonardo da Vinci was dyslexic, and he learned everything through his apprenticeship. So if you look back at history and look at where we are today, our society is not a welcoming environment for a person with dyslexia. And most dyslexic people will share how they have struggled a great deal as children. However, they have blossomed as adults, because as a dyslexic person, we learned resilience. We learn how to compensate for our inabilities over time. And so that's one of the things that we also help our students with as we're tutoring them. We help them speed up the process of learning what their strengths are and how to compensate and how to feel really good about themselves and build their self-esteem. That's very important to us. So there are many common signs that you'll find in dyslexic people. And so that's one of the ways that I can easily determine if a student has dyslexia without having to have you spend thousands of dollars to get an official diagnosis. Some of the common signs of dyslexia are delayed speech, stuttering. If you have a family member who you know is dyslexic, that's a great indicator. But a lot of times people don't want to let anyone know that they're struggling. So a lot of times on the surface, you may not realize that you even are dyslexic. But that is a great indicator. Being a terrible speller, that is huge. Most dyslexic people struggle with spelling. Some dyslexic people can read pretty well because reading is memorization. You see it and then you memorize it. Where spelling, you really have to pull it out of your memory bank and may struggle with it. Continued letter and number reversals past first grade or second grade can be a sign, but like I said, that is not what dyslexia is. It is just, it can present itself as a characteristic. Saying a lot of whatchamacallits and thingamabibbles and forgetting what names are, words are, that's a huge one. And so there's a long list, and if you would like, we can provide you with a complete list of what the signs of dyslexia are, and you can go through it and see if you or your children have the characteristics of dyslexia. Another one of the signs is confusing similar reading words. So for our example here, confident and continent, both of those words start off the same and they end the same, just the middle is different. And so very often a dyslexic person will read those two words as the same thing. Or they may see the word house on one page and read it as house, and then on the next page read it as home. So that is another characteristic. If you see your child having those struggles, that perhaps would be an indicator that we would be the right tutoring program for your child. Next, I'd like to talk about dysgraphia. So dysgraphia is another neurological condition. It's like the cousin of dyslexia. So again, dys means difficulty or not, and graphia or graph means writing. So dysgraphia means difficulty with writing. And that can be difficulty with handwriting, or it can be difficulty with communicating your thoughts and putting them on paper. So that's what we help with, is the students who are struggling with their writing abilities. We don't work on handwriting. I can give you a recommendation if you are concerned about your child's handwriting to help with that. But our focus is on helping the child put their thoughts together in an orderly manner, learn how to take notes, learn how to write, and communicate their thoughts on paper better. So very often people with dysgraphia will have difficulty with fine motor skills, letter formation, spelling, and organizing their ideas cohesively on paper. And so these challenges can be a huge hindrance for individuals because, like reading, in today's society, we are expected to write. And I have found that so often schools are not accommodating and they will not let students just type their papers. So many of our students would benefit from just being able to type what they are doing versus having to handwrite it, because it is so challenging for them to do the written part. And so it just becomes an added burden for them. And we are able to provide you with an accommodation sheet. If you'd like that, just let us know. And that can cover dyslexia, dysgraphia, and dyscalculia. And you can provide that, figure out what accommodations you'd like for your child, and then provide those requests to your child's teacher. They don't have to be officially diagnosed. Very often teachers can just accommodate in the classroom setting without an official diagnosis. So some common signs of dysgraphia are tight, awkward pencil grip, They might, like a right-handed person might hold their pencil like a left-handed person often does. They might have illegible, uneven, and sloppy handwriting. They experience physical pain when having to write. My youngest son would get really hot when he needed to write things. And our solution for that when he was younger was he would write on a dry erase board because it was less pressure to use a dry erase marker on a dry erase board than to use a pencil or a pen on a piece of paper. So there are solutions that can help your child who has dysgraphia to make it less wearisome for them. But here's, a list of many of the characteristics of dysgraphia. And again, we can provide you with a full list that you can complete the checklist and see how many signs you or your children have. Dyscalculia is a specific learning challenge that affects an individual's ability to understand and work with numbers and mathematical concepts. It's characterized by persistent challenges in developing basic math skills despite adequate intelligence, education, and opportunity for learning. So very often people with dyscalculia, it's like a foreign language to them, and they just do not understand math concepts the way a neurotypical student would. And so they miss out because math builds on itself, right? So if you're not getting the concept of addition and subtraction, it's really hard to move on to multiplication and division. And school just keeps going. And so what happens is these kids end up falling farther and farther behind. What we find with math is when we are able to teach our students how to do these basic math concepts, they really are able to take it and run with it. And then they become proficient with math. We've had students who literally after 1 month of tutoring and just doing the basics are able to then succeed in 3rd, 4th, 5th grade math because they now have a stronger foundation and understanding and confidence. The nice thing about math is it's repeats itself, right? So elementary school, they are taught basic math, and then in middle school, they review it. And then in high school, they get more in depth with it. So when we teach our students how to do this math, they become confident and are able to then get through the rest of their academic careers without the need for extra support, perhaps. So it's really exciting to see the light bulb shine with our math students who, thought that they were never going to be able to do math, that they were just incapable of it. Like I said, the girl I talked about earlier today, when she was 18 years old, she could not add. And by 20 years old, she had the confidence to be a cashier. So some of the signs of dyscalculia are difficulty with remembering math facts, concepts, and formulas, sequences, and procedures. Common Core really makes it more challenging because people with dyslexia, dysgraphia, and dyscalculia often have memory issues. So when they are introduced to 3 or 4 different ways to do math, they can't remember any of the concepts that they were taught. It all just becomes a big jumbled up bowl of mush for them. And so then they don't even know where to start. So Common Core is really a disservice for our neurodiverse kids. I think Common Core, the concept works well for your neurotypical kids because they get an opportunity to figure out which route works best for them. But for our kids, it often just becomes more of a challenge for them in life. And again, if you'd like a complete list of the signs of dyscalculia, just let us know and we'll be happy to share that with you. What is an Orton-Gillingham-based program? You might have heard people on social media talk about Orton-Gillingham-based, or maybe your child went to a psychologist or a neurologist and they said that's the type of program your child needs. If your child has dyslexia, indeed, they need to be taught using an Orton-Gillingham-based program. And so Orton-Gillingham-based programs are explicit, they're systematic and structured, they're sequential and cumulative, they're diagnostic and prescriptive, and they should be individualized and multisensory. So what that means in a nutshell is an Orton-Gillingham-based program starts at the beginning and it builds. So, for example, most students in kindergarten are introduced to lots of words. Like silent E's are introduced to stories that students are expected to read in kindergarten. An Orton-Gillingham-based program, we don't introduce silent E's until 2/3 of the way through our entire program. That is because silent E words are not easy. It's hard to grasp the concept of what the purpose is of silent E's. We have an entire book dedicated to teaching them about silent E's. So in an Orton-Gillingham based program, we start with sounds. The very first thing all of our students learn is sounds. And then from just working on the sounds, then they'll start to work on one vowel and 5 to 6 consonants at a time. They'll first learn the short vowel A, and then after a couple of weeks or a week working on that, then they'll be introduced to the short vowel sound of I and 5 to 6 more consonants. So then they will create sentences and read sentences that are just short A and short I words. And so then it builds on itself. And eventually they are then working on short and long vowel sounds. So instead of everything being thrown out at them all at once, they have an opportunity to just learn one thing at a time. And then there's review. Review is very important for people with dyslexia, dysgraphia, and dyscalculia because of the memory challenges. So that is basically what Orton-Gillingham is in a nutshell. And let's talk about multisensory, because that's a buzzword that a lot of people have been using lately, and a lot of parents don't know what that means. So multisensory is using more than one sensory, right? So it's seeing information, like right now you are looking at my slides, you are seeing me, that is giving you a visual. Then multisensory also includes kinesthetic, so using your hands. So for our writing program, the students move tiles and they will type or they will write on the screen. For our math program, our students use different manipulatives like cubes and dominoes and dice, and all of these are online, but they're moving them with their mouse or with their finger if they have a touch screen. And so they're still incorporating the kinesthetic part of learning, even though it's online, because a lot of times people wonder how they can incorporate kinesthetics. That's how. And then the third sense that is incorporated in it is auditory, listening. So they are hearing the tutor teach them the information while they are seeing the tutor move the tiles on the screen or move the dice or the marbles or whatever it is. And then they're having an opportunity to repeat it back. So they're hearing themselves say it, which is very important. We want them to repeat it back because, you know, everyone's heard that saying, the old adage, if you can teach it, you know it, right? So if they can repeat it back to their tutor, then they know what they're really absorbing, what they're learning. And the more senses you incorporate into a lesson, the better the student is apt to retain the information. So that is what multisensory is. 3D learning experts tutoring services are a minimum of 2 days a week. We recommend at least 3 days a week because, as I mentioned earlier, people with dyslexia, dysgraphia, and dyscalculia have memory issues. So we want to make sure to reinforce the information that they are learning, and that needs to take place with a minimum of 2 days a week. It doesn't matter if it's 2 days in a row or if it's Monday and Friday, but they just can't go 7 days without getting the information. Now, our writing program is different. That program is ideal 1 day a week for an hour versus our math and our reading and spelling programs, because in the writing program, they're not memorizing the information, and they're going to have homework to do. That's also our only program that really requires homework. So it's really imperative that you're able to commit to a minimum of 2 days a week. And like I said, preferably 3 or 4 days a week is ideal if you have an older student who you would like to progress quicker through the program. So we offer 3 different programs. There's our reading and spelling program, which is our flagship program. And then there's our math program that is completely separate and individualized. And then there is our writing and note-taking program. If they are a reading and spelling student, we require that they are at least a third of the way done with their reading and spelling program before they even start doing the writing program. They really need to have strong enough reading skills before they start working on their writing skills. And so that's important to know. If your child is a pretty good reader and a decent speller, then they are welcome to start the writing program right off the bat. If you have questions about that, I'm happy to talk to you personally about whether your child is ready to start our writing program. For our reading and spelling and our math program, we do a student evaluation before we start tutoring. For the writing program, we do not require any kind of evaluation ahead of time. If you feel that your child is strong enough, then we are able to teach them the writing skills. So now I'm really excited to have you meet our tutors. All of our tutors are full-time tutors. This is their primary job. It's their career. So I think it's very important to share that with you, because very often people will be tutors just to make some extra money after their full day at work. That is not the case with my tutors. This is their career. They are very dedicated to helping our students succeed, and they provide tutoring. Our program is available from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Thursday, Pacific Standard Time. And on Fridays, tutoring is available until 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. We find that most of the time parents do not want to do tutoring after school on a Friday. They just want to let loose and be done thinking about all of the responsibilities. So we really prefer to just provide Friday tutoring to homeschool families who may want to do tutoring on Friday. So let's start off with our tutor, Mr. Chris. Mr. Chris is a certified Barton Reading and Spelling tutor. He has a bachelor's degree in linguistics from UCI and a film degree from Santa Ana College. He also attended Chapman University for a year and majored in creative writing. Chris has 3 siblings who have varying degrees of dyslexia, dysgraphia, and dyscalculia. So Chris watched them struggle until they started receiving Orton Gillingham-based instruction and multisensory instruction, and saw such value in it that he wanted to help other students learn how to succeed. And so without further ado, meet Mr. Chris.
Hi, I'm Mr. Chris. I am a humanities major from UCI. While I was there, I studied linguistics, media. Because of that, I know a lot about the way that language works, and I know a lot about the way that people interact with language. I am the oldest of 4, and all of my siblings had some form of dyslexia, so I am very familiar with its impacts, the impacts it can have on students, and I am happy to be helping other students so that they don't have to deal with that like my siblings did. So our reading and spelling program is made to help improve language-based skills using a process that works better for students with dyslexia in a way that normal schooling doesn't consider. So we take things step by step, starting from the most simple sound-based pieces and building upon that over time, so that we're not making assumptions of what students already know. We are starting from a solid foundation and making sure that they have the tools that they need to understand language bit by bit as we move on. So when I'm teaching students, I like to ensure that I am taking their needs into account. And a lot of times the students that we have are used to the program, the standard schooling programs, expecting a lot of them and expecting them to be correct all the time. And that is honestly sometimes the biggest detriment to them, is that they feel like they cannot be wrong. I like to make sure that our communications are open and they are free to ask questions about things they don't understand. And that if there's something is confusing for them, I want them to be able to be open to me about that, so that we can make sure that they are actually understanding what they're reading and not just following along with the program because they think that's what they're supposed to be doing. And I think that there are a lot of opportunities to learn not only how to read and write better, but more about certain topics that we discuss in some of the stories and sentences. So I try to bring a little bit of learning into everything. I always take the time. I don't proceed with learning until I know for sure that they are actually comprehending the reasons why, not just what they're supposed to be doing, but why the words work that way. So, is it the same as traditional tutoring centers? No, we are not the same. Most tutoring programs don't know how to help individuals with neurodiversity. We tutor using Orton-Gillingham-based curriculums, which is a systematic and multisensory program. The approach we use is completely different from that of your average tutor or tutoring center. We do not help with homework or fill in the holes in their learning. We go back to basics and build a strong foundation and build up from there. We individualize the programs for each student based on the initial student intake screening and the tutor's observations. How is your program different from other tutoring programs? We provide one-on-one tutoring to students using multisensory methods called the Orton-Gillingham approach. This type of instruction was developed in the 1920s specifically for dyslexic students. The Orton-Gillingham approach is a direct, explicit, multisensory, structured, sequential, cumulative, cognitive, and flexible way to teach literacy to students of all learning styles, when reading, writing, and spelling does not come easily to individuals, such as those with dyslexia. Do you individualize? Yes, we individualize our program to fit each student's needs based on the initial parent consultation, student screening, and tutor's observations. Can you teach my two children together? This is not an option because two dyslexics are not going to be exactly alike. The program we use is designed for one-on-one tutoring, allowing your child to go as fast or as slow as needed. Group tutoring sessions will not result in the same level of success. How is online tutoring different from in-person tutoring? The distinction between the two tutoring approaches is minimal. In the case of remote students, they meet on an engaging virtual tutoring program where both students and tutors have shared control. We continue to use multisensory methods, which are beneficial for students with dyslexia. The main difference between online and in-person is our online students practice developing their typing skills rather than handwriting skills. Students find enhanced concentration online compared to in-person sessions due to their comfort and tranquility to their familiar surroundings. We have found online tutoring to be highly successful for our ADHD students.
Miss Rachel is certified through the Dyslexia Training Institute and the International Open Academy. Before joining 3D Learning Experts, Miss Rachel worked with autistic students, and she has such a gift of helping students. Even some of our students have apraxia, which is an inability to verbally communicate or struggling with verbal communication. And she is just so patient and able to really customize our tutoring program to fit the needs of our special needs children. She is such a wonderful part of our program. So without further ado, here's Miss Rachel.
Hi, I'm Miss Rachel, and I have been Dyslexia and Dyscalculia tutor for over 5 years, and I did ABA before that. I've worked with students of all ages, including young kids to adults. I have an Orton-Gillingham certification from the Dyslexia Institute and a Dyslexia Awareness certification from Open Academy. I work with students of all subjects, including reading, spelling, writing, and basic math, all the way to pre-calculus. Our math program is a very personalized to the student we are teaching. Since it is one-on-one, we can use different techniques based on what the child needs. All the techniques I use are multisensory, which allows the transfer of knowledge to take place using more than one of their senses. I really take into account what the student needs. Some techniques work better for one student and not another. Some of my very favorite techniques include touch point math, number lines, and using times tables, which is my absolute favorite. What type of math do you teach? We teach addition, subtraction, money, multiplication, division, fractions, decimals, less than, greater than, telling time, pre-algebra, algebra 1, algebra 2, geometry, and pre-calculus. How often does a student need to be tutored? Consistency is a key factor for achieving success. Optimal results are observed when a student engages in 2 or more sessions per week, facilitating effective retention and imparted knowledge. Given that students we work with often grapple with memory challenges, reinforcing information becomes essential for successful learning. Session durations can be flexible, ranging from 15, 30, or 45-minute sessions based on factors such as students' attention span, age, desired pace of progress, and the extent of dyscalculia, severity, and presence of autism and severe ADHD. How soon can we expect to notice improvements? The timeline varies for each individual, yet generally, fundamental math skills can be acquired within 3 to 6 months. For most students, mastering multiplication can take as little as 4 hours. Furthermore, with our guidance, students typically advance to high school level proficiency within 2 to 3 years. You customize your program to suit each student's needs. Certainly, we tailor our program to align with the specific needs of each student. This personalization is established through the initial parent consultation, student screening, and observations made by our tutors. Do 3D learning experts offer a guarantee? While we cannot assure universal success for all of our students through our program, our comprehensive intake procedure generally allows us to determine the program's suitability for prospective clients before enrollment. Our foremost objection is to bolster your child's self-confidence and equip them with the necessary skills for successful reading. If noticeable progress is not evident within the first 90 days, we will promptly inform you, providing the option to either proceed or discontinue our services at that juncture.
Ms. T has a vast background working with students of all ages, from teaching preschoolers to working with ESL college students, helping them with their language arts. She has such a vast understanding of helping students who struggle for various reasons. She brings such amazing energy to her tutoring sessions and is wonderful to work with our students who may have some attention challenges, as well as all of our students. However, her energy is great for the kids who need to have more interaction going on. Without further ado, please welcome Miss T.
Hi, I'm Miss T. I've been with 3D Learning Experts for a few years now. I love working with children. I started working with preschoolers, and then I worked my way towards English Second Language college students. So a variety of whole variety of ages. I love to play. I love the theater, doing pretends, bringing a sense of fun into learning is a huge part of my philosophy and what I like to bring to the program. That's me. Our writing program is really unique in that it goes at the student's pace, but we do incorporate structure and style. So it's all about that. We go slowly and build our way up. So for students with dysgraphia, that's students that have trouble writing. Since we're going slow, it helps them develop those skills and get to the place where they need to be for their age level. Our writing approach is we like to focus on structure first thing. So we do note-taking, and we use examples of writing that have cultural and historical significance. And then from there, students can get an idea of how structure and style works before they move on to their own writing. What skills will my child learn? Your child will learn how to take notes, how to write paragraphs, how to write stories, how to create stories from pictures, how to do their own research, how to write creatively, how to dress up what they're writing to make their writing flow more, and how to understand writing as well. How long will the program take to complete? So the program is usually about a year, but we like to go at the student's own pace. So it depends on the student, but generally around a year. What are the themes of the writing prompts? Well, they're different for each age level. So for 3rd and 6th graders, it's ancient history. For 6th and 8th graders, it's medieval history. And then for 9th through 12th graders, we do US history. Why does this approach work for students with learning and developmental challenges? Well, we like to cater to a diverse type of learner. So we use a multisensory program and methodical approach. We like to empower our students to overcome a lot of challenges that they've been presented in traditional learning environments. We like to be adaptable, so it's very one-on-one and specialized towards your student. And again, we focus on structure and style. So it gives them something solid to look forward to, as opposed to some kind of vague idea of what writing should be.
Now let's talk about investing in your child. Our services are specialized, and our teachers, our tutors are experts in working with dyslexia, dysgraphia, and dyscalculia. And so you are going to have to make a financial investment greater than a college tutor. However, your children will leave our tutoring program ready with the skills that they need to succeed. So when my daughter was younger and I didn't know she was dyslexic, I paid teachers for 3 years to tutor my daughter after school. And you know what? I wasted her time and my money for 3 years because the teachers were teaching her the same way after school that they were teaching her in school all day long. And so it was just like the Snoopy cartoon of the teachers going wah, 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 wah. It wasn't until my daughter started getting Orton Gillingham instruction that she was able to learn to read and spell. So you can make that investment today to help your child learn how to read and spell and do math and become confident, or you can just wait and drag it on and watch your child continue to struggle in school and personally as their confidence goes down year after year. When you schedule a consultation call, we can discuss the specifics of how much tutoring will cost depending on what would be best for your child. The more tutoring sessions you sign up for, the lower the cost per minute is for tutoring. I'm pleased to announce that we are vendors for several charters in California. And if we are not a vendor for your charter, just put in a request and we'll be happy to register with any charter to help you assist in paying for tutoring. Additionally, we are able to accept special educational funds from North Carolina and any other funding that is available to help pay for your child's tutoring. We are happy to assist you with. The first step is to schedule a free consultation call, and we will discuss what your child has been experiencing, what your concerns are, what your hopes are for your child. And then from there, make some suggestions of how many tutoring sessions and how long the sessions should be ideally. We do 15-minute, 30-minute, and 45-minute sessions. Once in a while, we will offer 60-minute sessions for the reading and spelling. Math, we don't recommend going over 45 minutes, and our writing program is ideally 1 hour session. After you have decided to move forward with us, we will start onboarding your child. The onboarding process includes a student evaluation, which takes from 1 to 1.5 hours. If your child struggles to stay focused during that entire evaluation, we can break it up into 2 sessions. So don't worry. We're used to working with students who have attention challenges. After the evaluation, we will meet again to discuss our findings and let you know what we recommend and which tutor we feel would be ideal for your child. I like to match the tutor and the student based on personality, if at all possible. If scheduling is a challenge, then of course we will look at that. Whenever possible, it's ideal to put the student with a tutor that they really feel comfortable with, and because it helps with the whole process of their success. Within a few days after the evaluation, your child can start tutoring with their new dedicated tutor. And they will work with one tutor, with the exception of if on occasion they need a substitute tutor. However, because all of our programs are systematic, our tutors can just pick up where the other tutor left off without skipping a beat. So as soon as you're done watching this training video, be sure to schedule your consultation call with me so that you can save $300. We feel it is very important to track students' progress. So we have our tutors provide you with notes after every tutoring session. The progress notes are specifically for parents, and they are available to be viewed on our platform. The primary purpose of the notes is to inform parents about their child's academic progress, highlighting areas of growth, challenges to overcome, and noteworthy development. The notes serve as a comprehensive update on the child's improvement, areas that they may be struggling, and overall performance during the tutoring session. Twice a year, we provide progress reports to our students, and we offer benchmark session appointments. This is all included in our tutoring services. The benchmark sessions are available to any of our students who have been with us at least 6 months, and they are offered in June and January. During the benchmark appointment, we will reevaluate your child's reading and spelling levels so that you can compare where they started to where they are now. Now let's talk about our tools and platforms. We use a platform called TutorBird to seamlessly schedule tutoring sessions. Emails and reminders are sent out before each tutoring session. We also post our announcements and the student progress notes on TutorBird. The tutoring platform that our students and tutors meet on are called Koala, and that platform is wonderful. Our students are really enjoying using that platform. They get gems when they learn something new or achieve a new goal. They get to have breaks and do extra activities in the Koala playground, which provides them an opportunity to play and learn at the same time. We have created some bonus resources for our students and parents to use at home. It reinforces what the students have learned during their tutoring sessions. We have cards that go over the different rules that our students have been taught so that they can practice it and parents can understand what their child is talking about when they say the floss rule. We also have a list of some activities that you can do with your child at home to reinforce their spelling words and practice so that they can master sight words, which can't be sounded out. And as for math, we have similar cards that go over the rules for multiplication, as well as the multiplication stories conveniently written out for your students after they have learned them so that they can continue to practice that and reinforce their ability to do multiplication. And now I'm excited to share with you our clients' success stories and testimonials.
Hi, my name is Claire, and my daughter Madison was diagnosed with dyslexia in 6th grade, and we were recommended to 3D learning experts by another student at the school. We got in right away and started tutoring twice a week, and it's been really an amazing progress for Madison and for our family. We didn't even realize that she had the struggles that she did when it came to reading and spelling all throughout her elementary years. And it was through standardized testing that we learned how low her reading levels really were. So with her twice a week tutoring through 3D learning experts, she's developed really great relationships with her tutors. They're empathetic, they understand kind of where she is. She was able to start at the very beginning and learn the basics because she didn't even have some of those fundamentals, and that's what the program allowed her to receive. Madison's confidence has grown tremendously. I've seen her really soar at school. I've seen her grow in her excitement to read at home when it's not even required as part of schoolwork. She loves reading before bed. We're going to the library a lot more and getting books that are just fun for her because she's developed this confidence that she can, confidently, spell the words, understand the phonics, know that there are tricks to the English language, and that's what the program has allowed her to actually really thrive in. It's been a great partnership. I've loved working with the tutors and working with Jess, and we're really, really thankful for 3D Learning Experts.
I understood that it would be, difficult for him and it would take time, and I understand that process, and I anticipated that he would continue to grow forward, and I'm seeing that now. I see him trying to read a little bit more, and I'm happy with that progress, right? So I think that my initial, what I thought would happen is happening, right?
As a parent, I can't give enough shout outs to your company. Gosh, my daughter's diagnosed with dyslexia, and she just adores her tutor, Miss T. And I have to say, my first phone call was with Miss Jess, and you were so patient, and you spent almost an hour with me on the phone, just going through all the questions. And our family just adores your company, and we've been with you for years now, I think now, and we'll stay in for the long haul. I adore you guys. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Catherine. That's so sweet of you.
My name is Alyssa. I'm a fashion design major at the Fashion Institute of Technology. I'm about to start my freshman year. We're currently at my going away party. I invited Miss Jess because I thought it was really meaningful for her to be here because I'm about to go off to college with all of the tools that she taught me in tutoring years ago.
What do you like about tutoring, Lee?
It's fun.
It's fun? Good.
Hi, my name is Madison Markovsky. I am in 7th grade and got diagnosed with dyslexia in 6th grade. Before the tutoring experience with 3D Learning Experts, I was really scared to read out aloud in class. My confidence was really low for when I would write or when I would read. It was really hard because I would always get really scared when the teacher would call me to read something because I'd get embarrassed if I messed up on a word or anything. But after the tutoring experience, I feel so much more confident. I now love to read at home. I love to read to my dogs. I just love to read, and it's just life-changing because it has really helped me grow my confidence. And at school, I now am open to read and even raise my hand and suggest if I could read. So 3D Learning Experts have really helped me grow in my reading and writing levels, but also in my confidence. So thank you so much.
Joining us today and spending an hour with us to learn more about how we can help your child succeed in school and in life. Again, if you are ready to move forward, the next step is to schedule a free consultation call with me today, and you will save $300 on your child's onboarding process. I look forward to meeting with you and helping your child succeed in life. Have a great day.